Yeah, hi guys. Marie has kindly agreed to share some footage I have of her running style. We've got on the left here some before footage and after footage. After we did some drills focusing on increased cadence, leg turnover, also trying to keep the hips forward, a much more upward stance, and also trying to push off at the back, sort of the imagine you're rolling on a log experience, just to try and push more off at the back. Okay, so before I do a bit of a side-by-side comparison, let's just quickly review the 4 stages of the gait cycle. So you can see here on the right, Marie is just about to make contact with the ground, and that's starting the stance phase where her body is on the right leg here. Okay, so during that stance phase, the quadriceps muscles are acting like shock absorbers, absorbing that downward load. What we can see there is, because Marie is much more upright, her weight is distributed. Her hips are over the contact point. I'll just quickly show you a comparison on the before. It's a slightly different angle, but you can still tell there's the contact there. I can tell the contact. The head actually drops quite significantly here in the before if you have a look. There's the contact, leg bends. The angle's not great, but you can see if I have a straight line from the neck through the hips, which are about there, the right foot is clearly in front of the center of gravity. So what that's going to do is have a decelerating force pushing her backwards that she has to overcome. And you can observe the effect of that is because there's much more bending at the hips there. She's collapsing a little bit more, as opposed to this more upright position, this sort of hip angle, hip flexion is much more open. Right, so I'll get rid of those. Okay, so that's the absorption phase. We then move to the generation phase, stance generation, which is where you're pushing off from that foot. The exercise for Marie here was to really concentrate on pushing off hard. And so it generates there at the toe off. Right, so that's the end of the stance generation phase. We're now in the swing phase, where Marie has to swing this leg from the back through to forward. So this is going to generate forward momentum, and that maximizes just there. Right, and then the final phase is stance absorption, where you lower this leg, pushing it down to prepare for the impact and the end of the cycle. There we go. Okay, so let's watch a little bit of that side by side at full speed. Alright, now I'm just going to go frame by frame and show a few metrics that I put up earlier. There we go, so some noticeable differences here. In the after shot, she's getting much more leg extension, hip extension here. The angle roughly between the hips and that leg pushing out backwards is about 168 degrees, where there's very little leg extension here. It's almost 180 degrees. And if we move forward a couple of frames, we're now in the swing phase. That extension has allowed Marie to tighten that leg up a little bit. You can see that angle is 102 versus 109, which is much more open, which means it's a lot harder to swing that leg through. So let's just go backwards a little bit and have a little bit more look at that swing phase there. So one of the issues with not tightening that leg up enough, let's go a little bit further back. You can see there at the time she's absorbing there on the left leg and getting a little bit more flexing of the right leg, tightening it up. Ideally, I'd like to see an angle here less than 90 degrees. So the effect of tightening that up is you'll create a much tighter pendulum, so it'll be much easier for Marie to swing it further forwards, increase that stride length. Clearly on this one here, it's well over 90 degrees. So something for Marie to work on there. Okay, so it's a little bit tighter there on the follow through. So what's that tight angle enable Marie to do? She can just hold out a little bit further before she has to lower that front leg to the ground. And that's what allows her to shift her weight, her center of gravity, further over the impact point. Right, so she could still do a lot better in flexing this. I'd like to see that femur probably more something like that. You know, really driving it forward, and then you'll get a corresponding foot pattern like that, which allows her to flick it forward and have a little bit more preparation time before lowering the leg to the ground. Okay, so definitely a much improved stride here on the right. Still some more work to do. Need to work on probably pushing off a little bit harder. When pushing off, flicking that trailing leg a little bit further back, and then trying to thrust it forward a little bit more and get a bit more knee drive. You can definitely see here on the left here on the before, this front leading foot barely leaves the ground, so we'd like to see that a couple of inches higher, and at least some time to lower the leg, because when you're lowering the leg, it actually prepares the muscles of the leg that's going to land. It prepares the muscles for the absorption, which helps create more of a springing effect to allow a much stronger push off. Okay, I hope you found that helpful. Thanks again to Marie, and I'll catch up with you soon.